Ciao a tutti e benvenuti al Tavolo Italiano. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the various tenses for avere, which is Italian for to have. A few footnotes before we start. This lesson assumes you know the basics of conjugating Italian verbs in a few tenses, those covered in Verb Drills 1, and the uses of the verb avere. If you are not, I'd encourage you to review those videos first. You can find them on tavoloitaliano.com or on our YouTube site. We may also be touching on some tenses you have not used yet. This video is not intended to cover all the ins and outs of those tenses. We're just looking at avere in each tense. You can find out more about the individual tenses at tavoloitaliano.com. Pronto? Okay, let's get started. A different approach. As I do with most everything, I look at the division of tenses a little differently than most do. The same as we did for essere. Technically speaking, the correct way to categorize the various tenses would be to look at the definite, the indicative, imperative, conditional, and then subjunctive. The indefinite, the infinitive, the participle, and the gerund. For purposes of this lesson, though, I look at first what I call simple tenses, the non-subjunctive simple tenses, meaning no auxiliary verb, and then move on to the participle, in compound tenses, which are then made from the simple tenses and the participle. The reason why I do that is if you know what the past participle is, and you learn the simple tenses, then when you get to the compound tenses, you're just putting together things that you already know. I think it makes it a lot easier that way. Then I handle the subjunctive in the same way. The infinitive is in the title, okay, avere, and I leave the gerund for the lessons on the progressive tenses. Okay, so for most of you, these first four tenses should be almost a bit of a review. Il tempo presente, or the present tense, is o, I have, I, you have, a, he or she has, abbiamo, we have, avete, y'all have, hanno, they have. Then the il tempo imperfetto is avevo, I was having, avevi, you used to have, aveva, he or she used to have, avevamo, we were having, avevate, y'all used to have, and avevano, they were having. Two quick notes I forgot to throw in there. And any of you that have watched or studied many of my videos at all realize instead of saying you singular and you plural, as we only have one pronoun as opposed to like French or Italian, I say you and y'all for plural, just for simplicity's sake. Also in the imperfect, il tempo imperfetto, it could be either I was having, almost like a past progressive, or it could be used to have. So I kind of interchange those. Okay, il tempo futuro, the future tense, avrò, I will have, avrai, you will have, avrà, he, she will have, avremo, we will have. Remember, you only want to pronounce one M there. Avrete, y'all will have, and avranno, they will have. And il tempo passato remoto. Ebi, I had. Avesti, you had. Ebe, he, she had. Avemmo, we had. Aveste, y'all had. Ebero, they had. Okay, the imperative should also be more of a review, while the conditional may be new. Remember, with the imperative, we don't look at it like I, you, he, she, we, y'all, they, like we do all the other tenses. Instead, it is listed as you, us, y'all informal, and then you and y'all formal. There is no I with the imperative tense, as in Italian you don't order yourself to do something. Il tempo imperativo, abbi, have. Abbiamo, let's have. Abbiate, have. Abbia, have. Abbino, have. Okay, il tempo condizionale, the conditional tense. Avrei, I would have. Avresti, you would have. Avrebbe, he, she would have. Avremmo, we would have. Avreste, y'all would have. Avrebbero, they would have. This is why it's important in the future tense to only pronounce one M, because if you pronounce two M's, you're saying we would have instead of we will have. And the participio passato, the past participle for avere, is avuto. So now, if you've studied all these tenses that we've reviewed so far, and you know the past participle avuto, these next tenses are a cakewalk. Okay? Basically, they amount to a review and combining of what we already know. For example, il tempo passato prossimo, which we refer to in English as the present perfect. Ho avuto, I have had. Okay, so you'll see avuto at the end of each of those, which is had, the past participle. You'll notice that we have in front of them, o, I, a, abbiamo, avete, hanno. Sound familiar? That's right, it's the present tense of avere. Very easy. So, ho avuto, I have had. Hai avuto, you have had. Ha avuto, he, she has had. Abbiamo avuto, we have had. Avete avuto, y'all have had. And hanno avuto, they have had. Then to make the il tempo tra passato prossimo, or the past perfect, you just change the present tense conjugation of the first verb to the imperfect. Okay? But you use the exact same past participle. Facile, non è vero? Easy, right? Okay? Avevo avuto, I had had. Avevi avuto, you had had. Aveva avuto, he, she had had. Avevamo avuto, we had had. Avevate avuto, y'all had had. And avevano avuto, they had had. Once you get it, how to construct the compound tenses, then the options just keep growing. Check out these next two. Once again, if you study and memorize the simple tenses and past participle, then these become very, very easy. So, il tempo condizionale passato, the past conditional tense. Avrei avuto, I would have had. Avresti avuto, you would have had. Avrebbe avuto, she, he would have had. Avremmo avuto, we would have had. Avreste avuto, y'all would have had. And avrebbero avuto, they would have had. Once again, avuto didn't change. We just took avere instead of in the present or in the imperfect, we put it in the conditional tense. And finally, il tempo futuro anteriore, okay, which is like the future perfect. Avrò avuto, avrai avuto, avrà avuto, avremo avuto, avrete avuto, and avranno avuto. I will have had, you will have had, she or he will have had, we will have had, y'all will have had, and they will have had. Once again, same past participle, just using the future tense of the first verb. Okay, now let's look at two more simple tenses in a different mood, the subjunctive. We are not going to go into at all these tenses, what these tenses involve, when to use them, as it is an entire lesson in itself and is already available online. In fact, I believe it's a 4-video series on the subjunctive tenses. It's also covered in verb drills too, so here we go. Congiuntivo presente. Abbia, that I have. Abbia, that you have. Abbia, that he or she has. Abbiamo, that we have. Abbiate, that y'all have. And abbiano, that they have. And then we have the congiuntivo imperfetto. You'll notice that in English, by the way, it's predicated by that I have. That. Okay, we won't go there, but it's just kind of important to note. In this one, the English side could actually mean a couple of different things, so we just put a little selection there. Okay, so avessi, that I would have, could have, used to have. Avessi, that you would have, could have, used to have. Avesse, that he, she would have, could have, used to have. Avessimo, that we would have, could have, used to have. Aveste, that y'all would have, could have, used to have. Avessero, that they would have, could have, used to have. Now let's look at the compound tenses and the subjunctive. How to construct the compound tenses is exactly the same as the others. You simply use the simple tenses in the subjunctive mood and the past participle that you already learned. Once again, don't get hung up on the meaning, translation, or use of the subjunctive mood. We'll cover that in detail in a series of lessons just for that mood where we can really spend some time explaining and understanding it. Right now, I just want you to know the mechanics of how to put the tenses together. So, congiuntivo passato, abbia avuto, abbia avuto, abbia avuto, abbiamo avuto, abbiate avuto, abbiano avuto. Okay, that I was having, that you were having, that he, she was having, that we were having, that y'all were having. All we've done here, or that I have had, that you have had, that he, she have had, etc. All we've done, once again, is we took the present congiuntivo and we conjugated the first verb in that. Still the same past participle. It's the same thing. Congiuntivo trapassato, avessi avuto, that I had had. Avessi avuto, that you had had. Avesse avuto, that he, she had had. Avessimo avuto, that we had. Aveste avuto, that y'all had. Avessero avuto, that they had had. Make sense? Once again, don't get hung up on why it looks different, what it means. Just look at the mechanics. We had the congiuntivo presente, which was the abbia, 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 abbiamo, abbiate, etc. Now that becomes the first verb, avuto, and it becomes congiuntivo passato. The congiuntivo imperfetto makes, which are these here, make the congiuntivo trapassato, just like the imperfetto in the non-congiuntivo mood makes the trapassato prossimo. Okay? So it's the same thing. All right, now let's see if we can apply a little of what we've learned. See if you can translate the following into Italian before the answer appears. Here's the English. I thought that he had had a salad. Okay, the word that is your clue. Shouldn't have told you that, but I'm just too nice of a guy. I thought that he had had a salad. Pensavo che lui avesse avuto dell'insalata. Y'all have beautiful clothes. Avete bei vestiti. We will have the money tomorrow. Domani avremo I soldi. They used to have a car? Avevano una macchina? How many girlfriends have you had? Quanti ragazzi hai avuto? How'd you do? Get them all right? So-so? Not too good? Remember, you can watch this video as many times as you need to study and see if you can't get these things down pat. If you master the verb to have in all the various tenses, it will help you immensely in your study of the Italian verb system. Well, grazie mille per aver studiando con il Tavolo Italiano.com. Thank you very much for studying with Il Tavolo Italiano. Remember, you can find out much more about the Italian language, all for free, at iltavoloitaliano.com. Grazie mille, buona fortuna, e ciao, and remember, never forget, parlo italiano.